The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
This is Africa Diaspora Connect.
Join us as we take the journey from the motherland to America.
We share our experiences and learn from them.
Here is our host, Kibathi Gaturu.
Welcome to the African Diaspora Connect. I am your host, Kibathi Gaturu. What's going on, ADC fam? So guess what? We made it through a year. Yeah, we made it through a year, and I'm happy to say that it's been a rush from out of this world. Thank you, each and every one of you. 1,600 somewhat subscribers in 12 months. Not too shabby. Let's do this thing. Let's do this thing. Let's share. Let's educate. Let's provoke. Let's take it to the next level. Today I have an amazing guest here with me to start year two. And we're going to start year two with a bang. Mary Muchina, welcome to the Africa Diaspora Connect.
Thank you for having me, Kibathi.
She's going to take us through an abyss of her life and some hell that she's been through. She will touch on a topic we started last week, we'll bring into this week, that deals with domestic violence. Next time you're in Worcester, I want to take you to my favorite restaurant. The best meals ever, ever, ever. They are called Acacia Grill, and they are the baddest of the baddest. Whatever meal you ever wish to have back in the motherland, they do it right here. Started through dedication, resilience, a passion to bring people together to enjoy home-style tasty meals that are creatively and uniquely prepared with the touch of our Kenyan culture. When you visit Acacia Grill, you are assured of a delicious meal that is carefully and uniquely prepared with the right amount of each ingredient to give you that unforgettable home-style experience. Don't miss their Samaki's Friday. Yes, every Friday they offer a special promotion for any fish of your choice. 2 sides. Enjoy the fish every Friday. I did this past Friday. Acacia Grill. Authentic, fresh, and prepared with passion. Open 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday, 1105 West Boylston Street, Worcester, Mass. 01606. Phone number 774-243-1016. It's summertime. You guys out there who have weddings, catering, you go see them as well. Acacia Grill, catering to the hilt. Call in advance, they'll book you in, and they will give you an event to remember. And if you don't already know, make sure you follow, subscribe. It's been a year. We're on year 2. Social media, you know where to find us. YouTube, everywhere. Listen to wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. We'll be right out there for you. So, folks, let's get started with this session. Kavura, before I start with you, I just want to dedicate also this show to my brother, Jimmy Duo, Watson. Rest in peace, my brother. Rest in peace. You're one hell of a man. Africa Diaspora Connects will miss you. And moms and family, we're here for you. Rest in peace, brother. All right, Kavura. You called me on Monday morning, 10 in the morning, and I picked up. What compelled you to make this call, and why are we here today?
Well, let me start by saying thank you so much for having me here today, Kibathi.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been watching your shows recently.
Thank you.
And I love the work that you're doing. And the reason why I reached out to you is because I watched one of the previous show you
Magdalene
aired.
and her daughter, the official Anne, yes. Domestic violence, mother and daughter, 2 generational, back to back, yes.
Exactly, that really touched my heart, and I thought, you know what, I think it's time for me to speak out and create an environment where us women can get together and say, I'm going through this, and this is how I'm dealing with it, this is how I need help.
And folks, we're listening to this right now, and I am so glad that we're finally here. And once again, going back to Magdalene and Anne, we're opening up. And for you to see that and say, hey, listen, me too. I want to share my story because there's a lot out there that's unspoken. The stigma's got to end, but we got to bring it up close and personal and really get into it. You covered a lot of things. I think we may have a part one and part two. You covered rape. You covered something called schema, loss, transition, you name it. It's 30 minutes won't suffice, folks. 25 minutes won't suffice. There's going to be a part one and part two. But let's start from the genesis. Let's start from the genesis of you having to leave Kenya and the reasons that you left. And you're a mother of two. Let's start. Tell us your story. Tell us.
Again, before I answer your question, I'm going to say that I'm that woman who questions everything.
Okay.
And I am that woman who society says I'm rebellious because I don't just do what I'm told to do. I question it. And therefore, anything that I will say in this show, for the viewers, it's my view.
Like it should be.
It's stories from my eyes.
Your lens.
My lens.
There we go.
And having said that, I will give you a little bit of the background of my story.
Okay.
At 9 years old, that was the first time I was raped. And in Kenya, when that happens, nobody knows how to, there's no set support system in Kenya for that. And having been born and bred in Nairobi, my mom was kind of exposed, for lack of a better word. And I stayed in the hospital for about a month before they realized what exactly had happened. And when they did, I was going through depression.
At 9?
At 9. And that was the beginning of my long journey.
So you never said what had happened to you. They found a way to diagnose it after a month? Is that what you're saying?
After a month.
You just shut down, a little kid, shut down completely. No one knew what was going on.
Nobody knew, but my grades started going low in school. I was naturally an introvert, but it got worse.
Okay.
And nobody could understand. My diet, I couldn't eat. Basically, my life changed totally. And it was this darkness all around me. And when I went to the hospital, they were treating ulcers. Wow. They didn't even know. So they were asking, why does she have all these symptoms? So when they did numerous tests is when they realized there was an infection caused by the rape. And it was an STD.
Wow. May I ask it, was it a family member?
99% of the time, it's always someone close. And yes, it was somebody close. Not blood related, but it was someone close.
Yeah, I've heard. Wow. Go ahead. So you're 9 years old.
I'm 9 years old, and after about 2 months, I was released from the hospital, and I couldn't cope. Or my mother thought I couldn't cope because I literally created a cocoon for myself. And she pushed me to seeing a psychiatrist. She literally pushed me. And between changing schools, because I couldn't go to that school already, between changing schools, having friends outside, not wanting to see them again, and now being diagnosed with depression at 9, it was too much for me that I was put on medication. Again, another thing that African society don't really go for is medication. When you say mental health and we're seeking help and we're having medication for it, we'll look like it's something wrong. But my mom was open enough to do that. I remember there was a time I used to take 13 tablets just at 9 years. 13 tablets just for one day. That's morning and evening. And that was the first transition my brain had to digest.
So at 9 years old, you're seeing a psychologist.
Yes.
I detect a level of affluence from a perspective. There are a lot of young girls who go through this, but they will never, ever even get to know they're going to see a psychologist. You sound like you came from middle class, upper middle class, better kind of family in terms of being able to provide just a psychiatrist at that age back in Kenya. It's not too common.
Believe me, it wasn't. Like I said, exposure.
Ah,
Not affluence, no.
Nothing.
It was just exposure.
Really?
Because my mom was a civil servant.
okay, okay.
You know how much civil servants make in Kenya. It's not much. But somehow she,
Wow.
oh my
Kudos.
God.
Kudos.
She did a lot just for me to see that psychiatrist.
Are you the oldest by any chance?
Actually, no, I'm the youngest.
Ah,
I'm the youngest of 4.
okay.
Yes.
All right. So how your teenager comes in, rolls in? How do you cope? How you go to high school, boarding school? How does that work after this whole stigma at 9 years old? What happens?
So there started my schemers, which
Yeah, the schema.
I-
I've never
I
heard
like-
that word. What is that word? Schema. Explain that. What's a schema?
a schemer is more like a way to cope, like a perimeter in which your brain copes.
Okay.
Note I said brain, not my mind, brain. How your brain copes.
Okay.
And I like to look at it, like I said, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist or anything like that, but this is how I like to interpret it in my head. Your brain, when you're small, before you get to 21 years old, it's like you have, what do you call it in Kenya? Sellotape?
Yeah,
A
sellotape.
sticky tape.
Yeah,
It's like
sellotape.
you have both
Yeah.
both-sided tape
Yeah.
in your brain,
Okay.
which actually gets information. And then when you experience something that can relate to that, it gives you that, and it gives you how to cope with it. So that's what I call a schema.
All right.
Does that make sense?
It does. Deep.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So that's when this mentality started of, you know what, you need to keep moving. You need to be better. It's okay for you to say you're not okay, but who was I saying to that I'm not okay? Because a psychiatrist gives a 9-year-old medication. Remember, I'm already an introvert, and I'm being told, talk. I don't know what to say. My mind has nothing to refer back to communicating. So it got to about 11 years after that is when I literally, and I'm not advocating for this, I stopped my medication.
Okay.
The side effects were mad, crazy, but I stopped the medication just because I was fed up.
And what were we treating? As a depression? What were we treating specifically?
We were treating depression.
Okay.
So my circle actually stopped because I couldn't fit in anywhere as a teenager. I couldn't fit in with the girls because they were too girly for me. I couldn't fit in with the boys because I was this big girl, and I simply just could not fit in.
When you say big girl, what do you mean by that?
I was a very big baby. I love food. I'm a foodie. So
Okay.
I still am a foodie, by the way.
Does the medication affect you by any chance? Does that medication make you add on weight as well? Is there anything of that nature?
Yes, because
Okay.
it helps your brain slow down.
Uh-huh.
It kind of helps you be able to digest what has happened
Understood.
and create a place where to start from. So yes, it did.
Okay.
It did help. It did affect the weight a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. However, I got a coping mechanism and I started going to the gym.
Ah.
This was at about 11 years. And everybody thought I was crazy to go to the gym. But to me, the pain, the physical pain,
Yeah.
kind of resonated better than the emotional pain because I didn't know how to relate to the emotional pain and I didn't know how to let it out. So that's when I started working out
Good for you.
at around that age.
Wow.
And it was too much because every time I felt really low, really painful, I would just hit the gym and make sure I felt physical pain. And This is why I say everybody's addicted to something, because I just changed one thing, which was food,
Yeah.
to a healthier addiction.
Understood.
Yeah. So that was my teenagehood, you asked.
Yeah.
That was my teenagehood,
So you stopped taking your medication at around, what, 20 you said?
around 20.
Okay. Then
Yeah.
what were the effects, or what happens after that?
The effects of those medication were
When you stopped taking them, yeah.
yeah, withdrawal symptoms were crazy.
Yeah.
I could tremble. I could have space out. My brain would space out at times. I people used to ask me something, and I'm like, I know I did not say that, but they said no, you say that. Like it would have gaps, and I didn't know who to talk to about this. And it got to a place I stopped even seeing the psychiatrist. I was like, it's not helping, it's making things worse. So within about 21 days, and I know it's 21 because I was counting and I was very conscious about it. Within 21 days, I was able to identify all the side effects, which included sleeping a lot, which included overeating, and what else? Introversion was already there, but yeah. So I was able to cope within 21 days simply because I made a conscious decision to do that.
You mentioned how you weren't able to fit in growing up in your formative teenage years. After having gone through a rape, for example, this in of itself is mind-boggling. Boyfriend, do you even attachments? Was that in your periphery as a teenager, young lady, after that traumatic experience? What was that? What was that like?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't anywhere close to what I was looking for, because I kept asking myself, so how is it going to benefit me? And in my head, I didn't have an answer to that. So if it's not benefiting me, I'm not doing it. And however, sex was almost my lifestyle.
Okay.
And this is because I was trying to feel something.
Okay.
And I quickly realized that that wasn't either making me feel something, or I wasn't emotional. My brain had nothing to refer to as pleasure. So everything else that everyone at that age, until today, people my age, what they term as fun, to me still doesn't resonate as fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went through a promiscuous period of your time? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did. And the reason why I'm not embarrassed to say that is because I am seeing so many people going through the same thing.
Understood.
And they do not get
why
they're going through. Today I cannot look at you, Kibathi, and tell you you're a drunkard. I'm the kind of person who's going to come in and ask you, how come you're drinking? Because this is just the cream.
What are you masking?
Yes. What are you masking? What are you working with? How come you're choosing to cope with whatever it is this way? So I am not in any place, shape, or form to, what's it called? What's the word?
Judgmental.
To judge
Yeah.
anybody, because I know I have seen and I have done things myself that society deems as very negative.
And I'm sure, audience, I'm sure our children, our young adults, we've been going through a lot of tumultuous things right now, and we're not yet speaking about them. And this here, right here, for Kavura to be opening up, this is heavy. And I'm hoping we're paying attention. You know, let's honestly, for the first time, understand that no one's alone. And thank you so much for opening up like you are. So, you're in your 20s now.
Yes.
How are your academics? Are you focusing on stuff, or are you just going through life as it is? Is life is it a phase? What's academic wise?
Academic wise,
Yeah.
I went from being an A student to a C student.
Okay.
Which my mom was okay with it.
Yeah.
And that kind of gave me some percentage of hope.
Okay.
Now, at secondary, I went through really fine, but in and out of hospital so many times that I went through a number of surgeries just because the symptoms were so many that they had to stitch my ulcers, they had to whatever, so many things had to be done on my body. And eventually when I got to about 22, about 22, my physician told me, you know what, your body has been through so much trauma. If you're ever planning to have a baby, the time is now.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And here you're telling a 20-something-year-old who just got out of college to get her mind together and decide if she ever wants to have a baby when she's an adult or what, at 20-something. And I was angry. I was angry one day, and I had just met the father of my kids a few weeks before that, and that's how we started dating. We simply just had lunch because of that in my head. I did not even tell him what was happening, but that's how we started dating. I wanted to be with someone. I wanted to be with male energy.
Understood.
Yeah.
And you basically you're given a timeline by your physician. So you're like, hey, listen, the first one that's worth my while that comes around, maybe I'm just going to latch onto them. And
subconsciously, I think so. Subconsciously, yes.
wow.
Yes. Subconsciously, I look back now and I think exactly that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So before we get to that relationship, how about what other stuff? Did you get into drugs? Did you get into a lot of fights during that phase, teenager? Did that ever? Was that ever?
Funny you asked that, but yeah, I got into a lot of fights because I became one of the boys.
Okay.
I still am, even when you look at my circle right now, most of them are guys. Simply because subconsciously, again, I was trying to feel the power, be the powerful one.
Yeah, because think about it though. In my perspective, no one will ever do what they did to you at 9 years old. You were ready. You were like, it's never going to happen again without your consent.
Exactly.
So you had to fend for yourself.
Exactly.
Your masculinity somehow took over in some which way, form, or fashion. Is that what I'm thinking?
Yes. So my dad would actually beat me up from my room and like, get out of the house, go out. And I started going out to sit with the boys outside.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, are you sure that's what you want to do? I was like, at least she's getting out, let her be, you know?
Yeah.
But being in that surrounding of guys, it made me look at things from a masculine perspective.
Understood.
And so for me, intimacy got a different definition in my head.
Yeah.
For me, feelings got a different definition.
You're a typical guy.
Exactly.
You were a typical guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
like I said, that's why I cannot be judgmental to anyone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you met a gentleman. You're 22. Your doctor's giving you a timeline of, hey, listen, this is it. If you don't, start making babies right now, you'll never have babies. So you're still a nurturer. So despite everything you're saying, despite all the anger, all the anguish, you still wanted to be a mother. You still had that instinct in you, from what I'm hearing.
Yes, I still
Amazing.
wanted. I still love babies even today. I still love
Yeah.
babies. I really wanted to have at least one baby.
Yeah.
And one thing my mom said once that really got me to that point was, the neighbors are saying your womb might never. And when you say it in Kikuyu, it sounds so bad.
I know.
Oh, your womb might never carry a child.
Wow.
And it struck me so hard. That was so painful. You have no idea. And knowing that the doctor had told me that and I hadn't told anyone about it, I was like, no, I'm going to have a baby. I really want to have a baby.
Wow.
And so as we went on dating with this person, we got to a point and we agreed. you know what? You're a dude. I'm a chick.
Yeah.
Why not get a baby?
Okay.
And he looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, no, I'm not joking.
Is he much older?
4 years older than
Okay.
me.
Yeah, that's nothing. No, that's not right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So eventually we agreed, like, okay, let's have a baby. And we didn't try for long, just so you know, we didn't try for long.
Yeah.
So the baby came. And when I told him I was pregnant, he was so excited and he was like, okay, so let's settle down. Let's settle down.
Uh-huh.
And to me, that wasn't the plan. But because I respected him and I know my mom would have loved it. And see, I was looking at everybody else, what everybody else thinks, wants, would say. And it wasn't really what I wanted or what I needed. So we ended up being together.
So what was your dad's take on kids out of wedlock? What was he like? African men?
No, I was the silent one, so everybody was shocked.
Okay.
My dad didn't know until Ratio. They came, Ratio, that's dowry.
Yeah,
For those who don't
yeah,
know.
dowry,
Yeah. So they came, they gave out the dowry, and my sister and I didn't have a really good relationship. So we fought the same night they gave the dowry. And my boyfriend then just picked me up from there, and that's how we started living together. And my dad knew that I was pregnant like a week after that.
Okay.
And he didn't say anything. He just said, you guys should have told me. I would have protected her.
But you wanted to be pregnant.
But I wanted to be pregnant. And my mom knew I wanted to be pregnant.
It's unraveling. It's unraveling the story, folks, as you can hear it. So did the baby come before the wedding or after the wedding?
The baby came after.
After the wedding.
After the wedding.
After the wedding.
And right after the wedding is when things started going south. Yes.
This is what we're going to do. Part 2, we're going to talk about you and your married life and what you encountered and what you went through. You're going to tell us your story. You're going to spill your guts. You're going to tell us like it is. And you're going to walk us through present day. We're listening right here, Africa Diaspora Connect. Kavura is telling her story. Let's listen. Let's pay attention. For those of you who have made it to this 27th minute, I appreciate you because we need to listen. We need to listen. Thank you once again for all you've done for year one. Thank you for everything, the support. Let's grow this thing to the next level. And Jimmy, rest in peace.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.